Welcome to Speaking of Influence, the podcast about public speaking, presentation skills, and tools of influence and persuasion with presentation skills expert Johnny Ball. Most online content creators seem to agree that live streaming is the future and definitely the way to go. If you have thought about live streaming and you'd like to give it a try, my recommendation is Restream.io. It's the service I use, and if you use the link in the description, you will get a $10 credit after you complete your first live stream. Welcome to Speaking of Influence. I am joined today. Well, I think we're very privileged really to be joined by somebody who has a lot of expertise in a number of areas. Not only is she as an expert in holistic health and meditation, there's a fair bit about yoga and all sorts of things, but also she is a public speaking expert and she's going to share with us some public speaking magic today. Please welcome to the show, Ambika Devi.
Thank you so much, Johnny. It is so amazing to make it here and be here with you today. And thank you, everybody who's tuned in and watching and listening.
Well, it's a real pleasure to have you here, and it's taken some organizing, and a lot of that's come from your persistence when I've been a bit overwhelmed with so many things to do. But I really appreciate it, and I'm delighted to finally have you on the show.
I'm so delighted to be here. Let's
So
go for it. Let's share
let's
some magic.
let's get into it. Let's start talking. Firstly, I think it'd be great to hear a little bit about your background, especially as it relates to public speaking.
I was super shy as a child, super shy, the kind that held on to their mother's skirt and peeked around sometimes. So to become a speaker, thinking at that beginning it's a disconnect. It doesn't even make sense. But I did go to a small school where I was in a really lovely, nurtured group. And we started reading out loud in first grade. So when I was 6 years old, I think that was my first step into it and becoming more comfortable with my voice. I've always loved singing. And I did work as a professional musician for many years. And so singing on stage is part of it, but then in between songs, somebody has to take care of the banter,
Right.
to keep the audience engaged. And that became my job quite often, not in every band, but especially in bands where I was the leader. And then I was a professor. I was a teacher of holistic health for 21 years. And so walking into a room of cold people, but they paid to be there.
Yeah.
I had to engage them for 4 hours at a time.
Wow.
Yeah. And I have to say, a lot of public speaking teachers do talk about the fact that longer stories or longer passages are easier than the short ones. But what is popular right now? 30 seconds,
Yeah.
TikTok, Instagram,
Right.
59 seconds. And I realized that I wanted to leverage what I was teaching about and what I've got all this knowledge stored up in my brain about to a wider audience. And I decided that really honing more skills would make sense. Now, as a musician and as a vocalist, I learned a lot of techniques, and some I'll definitely share with everybody today because these are so powerful for warming up the voice, but then also learning how to make a 3-minute video and then a 1-minute video, then a 30-second video. This is really, really important for all of us as speakers because those are the little snippets that people actually have enough attention span to pay attention to. And then hopefully we can get their curiosity to want to know more from us.
Yeah, you're absolutely right at the moment that these short form things, these snippets, bite-sized chunks of information are where it's at right now. And that YouTube has launched YouTube Shorts. So again, that's their competition with TikTok. But TikTok also is very much concentrating on bringing in content creators who are educating as well. And they're really pushing and promoting that. So if you are a content creator, like now is really the time to be getting into TikTok and YouTube Shorts and all this, because this is where the opportunity is at right now. But it's so important to not just get your content going there, but to make sure you're as vocally prepared as you possibly can be. So let's hear some more about how we can do that.
Okay, I think the worst thing that can happen is if you start speaking and all of a sudden you realize there's some mucus in the way. So the number one thing to make sure you do before you get on camera, especially if it's live or on stage, is clear out your sinuses. So there are many, many ways you can do this, but doing neti the night before, not the morning of, because you might end up with a waterfall of water.
Yeah, I've had that
If you lean a
experience.
certain way, that could be a little bit alarming in a live broadcast. And then blow your nose, get up in there. They're your fingers. It's your nose. Get it cleared out. And tongue scraping. This is incredibly powerful and good to do. I use a copper tongue scraper. Wow, that's a tongue twister.
It is.
There's a warm up with some tongue twisters. Copper tongue scraper. There's a brand new one. I use one and on the back, the side, and then straight back again. That's the technique. If copper does not agree with you, you can get surgical steel, stainless steel. But getting back in there, because a lot of clients ask me, well, I brush my tongue. No. That's cleaning what's called the moss on your tongue.
Right.
I'm talking about getting around that curve in the back of your tongue and scraping that stuff off, because it sits back there and it affects our ability to speak. It affects the motion of the tongue. So that's number one. But then there's tons of warm-ups we can do and breathing exercises as well.
Yeah. And one thing I do notice is that, I mean, having done a number of speaking events and also from my public speaking clubs and the likes, very few people ever do it, any kind of vocal warm-up whatsoever. Now, I'm actually bringing a voice coach on next week, so this is great, a great warm-up for that. But what are the sort of things you would recommend people doing to start preparing their voice to speak?
Okay, even before you do tongue twisters, there's a few warm-ups I can show you and lead you through if you want to do it along with me.
Yeah.
The first is just what we call making raspberries, just or motorboating your lips, I guess that's also called. But take your fingers, your index and middle finger, you can use your whole hand, and just find where your jaw is. Go in front of your jaw joint and just push up a little on the skin. So what you're doing is you're taking some stress off of some of the muscles in your face. And you're going to breathe in your nose. So exhale first and really squeeze your tummy in so you can get a full deep breath. Breathe in and so if it's kind of coming out like that, you're not getting enough pressure up to release the muscles. So what you want to do is really the cheek muscle, you want to take the stress off of the cheek muscle. So you might need to come a little closer to your lips. And let your teeth be apart. If you're squeezing your teeth shut, it won't work. So let's do this first. Let's find the jaw joint and loosen that up. I didn't realize I was so much more loose than you right now, Johnny.
I've heard that said many times.
And then let's even do this.
Okay.
Take in a deep breath and exhale and open your jaw down towards your chest. Breathe in through your nose and see if you can leave your mouth open. And what will happen is you'll induce a yawn. Yeah. Isn't that amazing? And that will get the stale air out of your lungs. Now let's go back and let's try this.
Okay.
Breathing in through the nose. And you have to play with it so that you can get a really loose feeling in your lips. Then what we'll do is a slide. So we all have a natural pitch or a note, a musical note that we speak at. and we speak in a range. It's just like a vocal singing range. Maybe I go up to here and maybe I go down to here. That's a natural speaking voice. But then when we get into higher pitches and lower pitches, we can really start to relax the muscles around the vocal cords. The vocal cords are more like ligaments. So the way sound happens is the vocal cords actually separate apart or come together. And there's these places called bridging points. And that's where the voice cracking happens. Now, I know as a guy, Johnny, when you were younger, you went through a period of that. But we women can also experience a voice crack just in regular speech, especially when we're nervous because of these bridging points.
Right.
So what we're going to do is imagine a slide. Hopefully you're not afraid of sliding boards.
No.
It doesn't have to be like a roller coaster, but just imagine from a higher place to a lower place. It doesn't matter if you're matching my pitch or what it sounds like. But what we're going to use is this kind of raspberry version with the fingers taking the pressure off and go from a high pitch to a low pitch. Let me just demonstrate it. Want to give it a try?
Yeah, let's do
Okay,
it.
let's try it. Take a deep breath in.
Oh, I think I didn't do my cheeks well enough.
Try coming a little bit more forward.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
Got it.
Mm-hmm. Now, you might have felt some bumps. You might have felt those speed bumps.
Definitely. Yeah.
So after doing it a few times, what happens is you can smoothly go through those bumps. Those are the crack points. They're called bridge points as a vocalist. They're called bridge points in your vocal range. And when we listen to a vocalist who can hang out in that bridge.
Cool. You blipped. We lost you for a moment.
I know. So what I was saying is when we listen to a vocalist who can sing in a bridge spot, for some reason we're really drawn in. And it's not that we know that that's their bridge spot, but it's a place and a quality in the voice. So when we're speaking, we are more engaging when we have a broader range of pitches. And when we have interesting pitches that match the quality of what we're talking about. And so to relax these bridge points is important. And you can also slide up and down. So you could go down and then up again.
Okay, let's give that a try.
Go for it.
Not as fluid as yours, but how I don't think I've ever felt quite so silly on my own show, but I understand how important this is. And I think maybe that's one of the reasons why people don't do this so much, is because it feels a bit silly doing it. But it is really important.
If you're in the same room as your audience, it may not be a great idea. You definitely need kind of a backstage, green room, off-site place to do it. Now, so much is happening on Zoom. There's no excuse. There's no excuse with live streaming or whatever you're doing with video. Take some time. Another one to try is just making the sound mum, like mummy. Mum, 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 mum. Try that.
Mum, 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 mum.
And again, now this time, instead of just squeezing up, make it more squeezing forward. Mum, 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 mum.
Okay, here we go. That's made me go deeper. That's weird.
Yeah, because it relaxed your throat. It relaxed your vocal cords. Now try a few different pitches and do it. So try going low, and if you notice you're low, go lower, and then go higher. See how high you can go and see if you can smooth past the bridge points using the mum sound. Now you should feel really
It's
relaxed in the
strange.
buccal area.
I'm starting to. I'm starting to.
Now see if that's looser.
I want. Just wondering if anyone's watching this with the sound off, wondering what the hell are they doing. Okay. Yeah, that feels looser for sure.
Okay, so for you, mum is really important before you try doing the raspberries.
Okay.
And here, look, when you get good at this, and when your cheeks get more relaxed, because you should be able to feel, Johnny, that the tissue is more relaxed and more pliable now in your cheeks.
Right.
Don't be afraid to touch your face.
No, I am, and I can feel it.
Right.
I've always had incredibly red cheeks, and they're probably looking a little bit redder right now after all this manipulation. But yeah.
Yes, but there are many, many muscles in the face. It takes so many muscles to smile and more and muscles to frown as well. And so we've and we use this to speak. So a little massage, everybody, and doing little exercises like this will make it a whole lot easier. I challenge you to try a tongue twister. Stop. Try these, just the mum and raspberries, and then
Mhm.
try the tongue twister again. I bet you that it's going to be so much smoother, faster, easier. And look, if you're driving to a gig, you can do it. You can learn to get it one-handed or at traffic lights. These are my tricks.
Mhm.
Uh, and then once you get the mum smooth, to really check to see if your voice is smoothing through those bridge points,
Okay.
because this will make you feel more confident too. When you get the muscles relaxed and get through the bridge points, you can just do a slide just vocally. So taking a breath in like this. There was a little bit of a bump. So I could go back to that bump area and play around with mom and smoothing. And I
Right.
used a sound, and that one for me works the best. You might find a different consonant works better. You might like to work with something like ta, depending, it all depends on how we use our tongues and how we create sound with our mouths.
Okay. Well, this is interesting. How long should we spend warming our voices up?
That's up to you until you feel comfortable and confident. I mean, I think one of the coolest things that occurred while you were trying this along with me is it made you laugh.
Oh yes.
And and laughing is a really good thing to do before you have to speak, because it will take the edge and the nervousness and turn it into excitement and
Mm.
happiness. And so anything that will make you laugh, let yourself laugh. I would do at least 3 to 5 minutes. I mean, once you get good at it and you know the feeling, once you get the sensation and you start to identify, okay, now I feel relaxed. Now my voice feels ready to go. What- You know, could just be a few mums, couple slides, a little bit of and you're ready to go.
Yeah. So if you're smoothing out those bridge points, that's a good sign that you've warmed up.
I think so, because what happens when we're nervous is the muscles constrict, and then that makes the bumps more obvious in the bridge points.
Yeah. And there's a good chance if you're about to do a big presentation, it's going to relax you a bit as well. Probably because you feel a bit silly doing it, you have some fun, maybe make yourself laugh. And also because you're focusing on something else instead of your speech for a few moments. And that's always a good thing to do as well. This is really cool. So I like this. I think everyone should be doing this before they speak. I should be doing this before I start doing my episode. I'm certain that my voice is a little deeper now than when we started the episode.
It's not just deeper, and I'm sure you'll hear it when you go back, but also notice the fullness, because there are overtones and undertones to any vibration, any frequency. And what it gives is a more full feeling, and that's a more inviting feeling. It's like opening your heart up to your audience when your voice is more smoothed out. It's got butter and molasses and good stuff in it.
I do find there are certain times, and it is usually later in the day, and maybe that is to do with being a bit more relaxed, where my voice does tend to go a bit deeper and more resonant, and I often much prefer the sound of my voice at those times. And but I really had thought that it wasn't something I could have that much control over, and now you're showing me I can, and I'm
Oh,
excited about that. I'm excited about that.
well, I look forward to everybody experimenting and give me feedback. There are tons of ways to play with your voice, and these are my favorite. And then again, tongue twisters. There's some classic, simple ones like red leather, yellow leather, and just repeat, 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 and go faster, faster, faster.
Right.
That's a really good one.
Red leather,
And
yellow leather, red leather,
go,
yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I can cope with Peter Piper, peck to peck of pickled pepper. That's about it.
there's some funny ones.
Yeah,
I've picked up over time, and I think what was the one I said earlier? Copper tongue scraper. That's a good one.
yeah, yeah. Copper tongue scraper. That is certainly one to wrap your mouth around. Yeah,
Definitely, because
it's the one.
I can't stand it when I stumble or fumble, and I know it's natural. So so be it when it happens.
Right.
But if we can get a little bit warmed up, I think, look, does a dancer go out? Does a core ballet dancer or a premier ballet dancer go out without warming up? Heck
Of course
no.
not. Of course not.
They'll tear something. Okay, you might not tear something, but you'll be smoother, you'll be more inviting. It's definitely worth it.
Well, we do hear of, and this is maybe more so with singers than public speakers, but we do hear of people straining their voices and ending up with vocal problems and nodules and all sorts of things that can end up in some cases, ending their ability to sing effectively. There's a famous singer here in Spain from a band called Mecano who has had to quit singing pretty much
Hmm.
because of that. And I think is Dame Julie Andrews as well had effectively a big operation for voice nodules that's meant she can't sing again. I mean, these are the kinds of things that can maybe at least help us protect against that. Can't promise, but hopefully it helps, right?
Yes, those nodules quite often form when a vocalist is pressing a lower range voice through a bridge. And
Right.
it's like shin splints on your vocal cords. And that's so sad.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
actually
definitely.
what led me to learn this, because I was singing backup and playing drums in a band with a guy who pressed through bridges really hard. And he would scream at the backups, match me in rehearsals. And it started really hurting my voice. And I found my way to what's called speech level singing, which was developed by Seth Riggs. And that's where I learned these exercises from one of Seth's proteges.
Mm. Do you think it helps being able to sing for public speaking work?
Yes, absolutely. Karaoke it up, folks. I think,
In what ways, though?
well, when you're singing a song, okay, I can only tell you for me why or how, but when you're singing a song that you really love, it opens up your heart area. Your heart and your lungs are in the same location in your body. And this is where your power comes from. Uh, you mentioned that I teach meditation earlier. So let me bring in a little bit of Far Eastern
Sure.
mysticism into this. The heart chakra, or heart energy center, is where the lungs and the heart, the physical heart, are. And this is where the element of air resides. And air is what moves energy in the body. It's also what activates our voice. It's the air going across these vocal cords, creating the sound. So, anything that will open up the chest area, exercises, stretches, bolster on the floor, rolled up towels, just a little gentle back bend to
Mm.
open up the heart area, forward bend to squeeze down on the belly to help get the stale air out. Because most people breathe in the top eighth of their lungs. Eighth. Come on, there's 7/8 of capacity there for you. So we've got to focus to get a full deep breath in.
Yeah.
Singing is a great way to practice breathing without having to go through strenuous pranayama or the breathing exercises. But learning those exercises, even just a breath where you breathe in and hold the air, then exhale and squeeze and hold still and steady with the air out. These are really, really helpful because we might get going in a story and we're starting to run out of air. And then we don't want to, gulp in the middle
Mm.
of that last sentence. It always happens in the punctuating sentence, doesn't it? And so to get your breath moving and working more with you and for you is important. And singing is a form of pranayama. It's a form of breathing exercise. So why not? And sing something that makes you happy. I don't know about you, but before I speak, there's a song that I like to listen to, and it gets me going. I mean, it's just like the same of listening to particular music when you exercise.
Yeah. Yeah. I have my Spotify playlist for when I'm speaking, and there's perhaps a rather disturbing amount of Britney Spears songs on it, but it's but it's there. And I love putting it on before I speak. Yeah. It pumps me
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. I mean, and ultimately, when we get back on live stages, there's a theme song that you use to get on stage. And
There is.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's a Britney Spears song. Which should be no surprise to you after that revelation. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
You never know. You never know. I mean, one of my favorite songs to use is in another language that I don't even speak, but there's just something about the music, and I make up words to go with it. And
Mm.
uh, it just really moves me and gets me
Actually,
focused.
my in all seriousness, my favorite song to walk out to is a Diana Krall song, which she wrote herself. I'm pretty sure it's called "Charmed Life," and I absolutely love it. And it's great. It's a great entry song. Don't
Yeah.
nick it. It's mine. That was for the audience, not for you.
Oh no, that's okay. I won't nick your Diana Krall song.
Yeah, but it's kind of jazz and smooth and cool, and it's like, well, that's what I aim to be. I don't know if I come anywhere close to achieving it. This has been some great insights into warming up your voice, and we've got some tongue twisters and some actual physical things we can do. What else do you think is important, or what else do you tend to teach people and talk about when it comes to public speaking?
Well, definitely warm up your body. Shake off the nervous energy. I like to jump up and down, and especially bouncing my heels on the floor, because the sciatic nerve runs up through the body and there is a connection point in the bottom of the heels, and just stamping my feet on the floor, because this helps to get me grounded. So there are practices of centering, finding
Right.
that location that's just around the navel area, and then getting myself grounded. Imagine roots. I definitely do some meditation in the morning and some yoga before a situation where I have to speak or record, and eating right the day before, being kind to your body, being well hydrated. So that means inside and out. I think a lot of people don't realize that their skin takes in a lot of water.
Yeah.
So bathing the night before, bathing the morning of. I'm a twice a day bather, and sometimes even more if I'm swimming midday. So I just it blows my mind that people just don't let their bodies get wet enough.
I'm a big swimmer as well. It's my favorite form of exercise, and I love to swim. and probably I go most days. So I hadn't really associated it with my hydration, but as you mentioned, I think yeah, I always feel pretty well hydrated. I've always got a glass of water next to my computer, and I do like to use the neti pot you talked about as well. And for people who don't know what that is, it's running saline through your sinuses. It's very safe and it's actually really amazing. And I think it's the only reason I haven't had a cold for a number of years.
Add the tongue scraping in, it will blow your mind.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I think I
Yeah.
have a plastic tongue scraper somewhere. I guess that'll
It'll
do.
do, but personally for me, copper works really well. Copper, as I said earlier, copper is not for everybody. Some people actually do have an allergy. If you're a person that's tried wearing copper jewelry and it just instantly turns your skin green, you may or may not want to deal with it, but it's antimicrobial.
Mm,
So it it kind of gives you that boost. Do that after neti. I have an informal teaching video on my YouTube channel, Johnny, about how to do neti and how I tongue scrape and everything I do to my mouth and nose. So the extensive, play by play live with me in the bathroom of how I do this. And especially now with the COVID situation, keeping your sinuses clean is a really good idea. Really good
right.
idea. After I go out and I've been breathing in a mask, I do neti that night when I come
Yeah.
home.
With so many like antigens, pollutants around, all this kind of stuff, I think it's a really good practice to have. And it's I know probably I'm like most people when they think about that of starting doing something like that, it feels weird. Of course, well, if you haven't done it before, yeah, but you do get surprisingly used to it. And it is important to know that, especially if you are a bit congested when you do it, you really do need to make sure you get as much of the water out afterwards. Otherwise, you may have a bit of Niagara Falls on your face a bit later on. And I tend to do that. I don't know if this is the right way, but I tend to do that by bending over and turning my head side to side, and that usually gets it all coming
Yes.
out. And then I don't end up with wet streaks down the front of my top or anything like that. But I found it a really valuable practice. I hadn't really considered that it was beneficial for my voice as well. So,
Well, think about it. Your sinuses are a
of
part of your
course,
breathing.
of course,
And there are weird little cavities all around. We yogis in early stages of training are trained in neti and scraping and all kinds of internal cleansing. And when we do neti, we all after we get it going through just the nostril areas, we actually flip back and pull it down into the throat to clean that back sinus passage.
yeah.
So I do talk about that in that little video. That's a little bit more advanced, but occasionally I get people who want a one-on-one to learn how to do it, and I'm more than happy to teach them that way because sometimes you just need a little adjustment. And yes, that head tilt, I've had times where look, I have pretty clean sinuses, pretty clear passages, but I've
Right.
had times where I've done neti and the next day I'm doing a forward bend or a downward facing dog tends to be the angle that
Right.
not all the
Yeah.
way forward bend, but that slight forward bend.
Loosens it
And
up.
I've had yesterday's neti come out like, whoa,
Yeah,
where was
yeah.
that from?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've experienced that, like when I've done one in the morning and then gone to bed at night and you put your head on your pillow and turn over and then
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
it
Yeah,
can be strange, but
because it just
not all the
hangs
time.
out there for a
Yeah.
while. Another key thing is oleation, so moisture. Yes, the water's good, but our bodies need particular types of oil to be happy.
Okay.
And as a speaker, you want to be able to always hear also. And one of the greatest causes of hearing loss is lack of moisture. So, getting some proper moisture into your ears and up in your sinuses after you do something like neti, I recommend whatever edible, organic, preferably oil you're using. Olive oil is great.
Right.
If you're a ghee user, if you got into ghee, ghee is great. Also, ghee is great for your eyes, your ears, your
But you
nose.
would run that through your sinuses?
Well, you'd warm it up because ghee would be a little more solid, or sesame oil works for some people. So,
Okay.
sesame, olive, or ghee would be my top three choices to put
Yeah.
inside. But if you're using any of them, put them in a little dropper bottle and put that bottle sealed up into a cup of hot water, and
Okay.
that'll warm the oil because your body's going to your core temperature is warmer than the air around you. So
Yeah.
you want to get it a little bit warmer than your core temperature. It doesn't have to be scalding. My goodness, no. But warm as you can take, but in the beginning just warm enough.
Do you put
And
it through with water with the neti pot or
no, no,
just
after
oil?
you do, because neti should be done with sea salt.
Mm.
So salt is very drying and is actually kind of like an acid.
Yeah.
So after that, we need to put a base, an oil in. And the when we run that salt water through the body, through the soft tissue, the extremely sensitive tissue of the sinuses, we then want to oleate it afterwards.
Mm.
So you could take a dropper and flip your head back and just snort it in. And if you can, pull it down your throat, because then it's that back passage that hangs us up vocally a
Right.
lot, that gets stuffed up. And that also, after you do that, having a clean tongue, scraping, because some will end up on the back of the tongue and sit there. It's when you swallow that gunk that it creates stomach and viral kind of things in the upper digestive system. So
Okay.
that's why you haven't been getting sick, because you've been taking good care and keeping that area more clean. So
But
well
there's more
done.
but there's more I can do. And so you would also
Yeah.
put that oil into your ears?
Yes,
Not into your eyes though, right?
I wouldn't do ears in the daytime when you have to hear,
Right.
because the way to do the ears is just a drop or two of the warm oil or ghee. Oil is probably a little better for your ears. Ghee, if it gets staying in there, will congeal and
It'll
feel almost
solidify. Yeah,
waxy. So
yeah.
I
Yeah.
would I would go with olive oil and sesame oil in your ears.
Right.
It's up to you if you want to experiment with ghee, but just
Yeah, yeah.
realize you might need to flush out with salt water later. And just put a couple drops and then stick a little piece of cotton in and leave it there for several hours. It's really
Yeah.
soothing.
I know I have done similar things like that when I've had like a buildup of earwax that needed to be given a bit of help to shift out. So yeah, it's not a super strange practice to me. Do make sure for anyone at home, don't accidentally pick up that oil that has been infused with chilies, because that is gonna hurt.
Although I have been known to use essential oils in with the oil, but they are very, very, very strong. So proceed cautiously, and please use organic unfiltered of whatever, the sesame oil or the olive oil. Don't use just standard cooking oils. No, 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 no. This has to be really high grade to
Yeah.
go inside and be absorbed, because your tissue will absorb it so quickly.
Okay, I'm definitely going to try it. I'm curious about it, and I really want to try it. Since I live in Spain, it's going to have to be extra virgin olive oil. But
That's
yeah,
perfect.
I
That's
will
perfect.
give it a go.
And there's nothing stopping you from putting a little bit on your pinky and getting up there and swabbing it.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
your nose has muscles,
Hmm.
and getting up in there after you get everything clean and doing a little inside outside massage is good, because if you can open up and stretch the nasal passages, you can take in more air while you're speaking.
I feel like we should have done more prep for this episode, Ambika. We could be doing this on camera for everybody everybody now.
I'm trying to be polite.
Maybe not such a beautiful image to conjure up, but yeah, perhaps that's a good idea not to do that
Well,
right now. But
I
yeah,
think
definitely play with these things.
it's a shame that people are afraid. I think we get the stigma of nose picking. Look, I don't want to sit here on camera and pick my nose for you, but but in the shower, that's your place. That's you get in there, clean
Yeah,
everything
what
out. Get
happens
in
in the
and clean
shower
your
stays in the
ears.
shower. Absolutely.
Exactly. Get some warm water, because that'll help melt the wax. I like taking the handheld behind my ear and just getting the area warm. And then if you're a Q-tip addict like me, um,
I am.
I haven't seen wax in a long time. Although a couple times a year, I will use an ear syringe and do rounds of warm, almost hot. well, I guess hot salt water, but then oleate after, with the oil in and some cotton for the night. It's
Yeah.
really important, especially when you begin. Some of us have more oily bodies, but many do not. So it's
I'm
really
I'm an
important to
I'm
get
an
oil.
oily person. I have to block my skin with this paper before I come on camera. Otherwise, the glare off my skin is bad enough without with having done that. But yeah, I'm definitely on the oilier side.
Well, that's great because then you age more slowly. You have the
I know.
power
I'm
to
actually
the moist
74.
people.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a good thing. Don't be afraid of your moisture.
I will do my very best not to be. Yeah, I get told I'm not looking too bad for approaching 50, so I'll take it. I'll live with that. But yeah, I know that that is probably part of the thing that I don't get dry skin very often, thankfully, and so yeah, I can do more to. I have a very good skin regime as well. Now I'm going to have an even better sinus, ear, nose, and throat routine as well. Thank you to you. So I really appreciate that. This is a lot of interesting stuff, and for anyone's watching or listening in, try stuff out, play with it. And if you don't like the sound of it, don't do it. But do some of these things. Take at least one thing from this episode and give it a try. It's going to improve your ability to speak. You're probably going to feel healthier for doing it. I think these are some really nice and they're safe things to try out as well. You're not going to damage yourself doing any of this. Super important. Go ahead. You're about to say something.
Oh, yeah, I am so excited to hear how people find either doing the mums or loosening up their jaws. I think everybody is going to find something, if not a whole handful of incredible tools to use. And yes, with neti, so many people are trying neti and not putting the oil in after. This is not a good idea, people. You've got to put the oil in after,
They
even if
don't
it's
seem
just a
to,
little
yeah.
bit.
They don't seem to tell you about that when you buy the packs. I'm pretty sure I've never seen or heard of that anywhere before.
The
I appreciate
secrets,
you
the
sharing it.
true secrets from, yes, from I you see, Ayurveda is where yoga is where these practices are from, and
Yeah, yeah,
uh, this is true. I mean, yoga is such a vast body of knowledge, and people associate it with the exercise program branded with the word yoga,
right.
but it's a lifestyle. And it is unfortunate that many of these techniques have, we grab one and we say, okay, that one's cool. I feel good. I'll do that one. But then you miss the culminative step. And this can ultimately damage you.
Mm,
If you're in salt water, I live in Florida, there's surfers. If you're in the salt water all the time, please rinse off in fresh water and oil yourself at least
yeah.
once a day.
And in Florida, it probably helps to keep the alligators away as well, right?
Which the noises
The
or
oil, they can't. Harder for them to grab you, maybe, maybe not.
maybe.
Well, look,
I don't know. I
yeah.
don't usually encounter them. A
Oh,
couple live
good.
behind me. I hear them. They talk, and I've learned how to speak alligator. So they have kind of a vocal sound somewhere between a duck and a dog barking. It's "Arr, arr, arr," like that.
Yeah, I've only ever encountered alligators up close one time in my life, and it was in a hotel in Entebbe, and they actually keep the alligators. So there was adults, babies, and all sorts in this alligator pit in the hotel. Quite incredible, and that was as close as I ever want to get to them as well. But they're interesting creatures. Moving on from
Wow.
alligators, though. Moving on,
We've gone all over the place today.
we have gone around a few houses and then some, but we've covered a lot of really useful things. And I think, like many people who might be tuning into this, a lot of this is going to be like you heard it here first. It has been for me today with you, because I really appreciate what you've been sharing with us. And for those who do try this stuff out, yeah, check out. If you're watching this on YouTube or on any of the other social media platforms, leave some comments so that we can hear how you get on trying some of these things out. Try the exercises out with us at the very least, and do that especially when you're about to speak. Ambika, I know people are going to want to find out how they can find out more about you. What is the best way for them to do that?
I have a link tree. So if you all are familiar with Linktree, It's just slash my name, Ambika Devi, AmbikaDevi. Same on YouTube, myname.com. And Ambika's coaching is a great place to find more too. So
Great.
my first name, AmbikaS, and then coaching.com.
Great stuff. All of that is going to come into the show notes later on. So you might not see it in the live stream, but you'll see it a bit later on. And Ambika, I always like to ask my guests for a book recommendation. And it might be something that you've just been blown away by as a book, or something that you have found very powerful as a speaker or as a coach. What, if I asked you for a book recommendation, would yours be?
Ooh, can I give two?
Yes, it's allowed. It's allowed.
Okay. Start with The Why by Simon Sinek,
Great book.
because this really helps us understand why we're talking about a particular subject, but also helps us to craft it into what we're speaking about and to really have a great takeoff into our talk. Another book that I'm taking in tiny bites is called Transurfing. And it is just blowing me away about behavior. So, for those of
Mm.
you who speak about behavior, and it's translated into a bunch of different languages. So, Transurfing, it's actually originally was small books, but you can find a compilation of the first five. And sometimes I read a page several times, and that's enough for a week. It's just a lot of information.
That sounds pretty good. I have to check that out. I appreciate the recommendations, and I would like to ask you if you have any closing words you'd like to leave our audience with today.
Sure. I want you to feel really comfortable about being playful when it comes to noticing what's going on with you before you get up to speak, and to allow yourself to make yourself laugh, to give yourself time and space to go out into nature and take really deep breaths, to lie down on the ground and look at the stars or the clouds. And just remember, you're a human being. You're here in this incredible place. Spend some time just in quiet, taking in all the sounds and the sights of nature.
Highly recommended. Great advice. Ambika, it's been so much fun speaking with you today, and you shared some great information. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us, Ambika Devi.
Thank you so much, Johnny, and thank you everybody who tuned in.
Thanks for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, please make sure you subscribe. Don't miss any amazing upcoming episodes. Whilst you're here, pop over to presentinfluence.com and grab yourself a free copy of the last minute presentation checklist. It might just save your butt someday. Next episode is going to be more voice coaching, but a very different style, with the incredible Dielle Hannah. And coming soon after that as well, an episode on the psychology of buying. If you would want to get into why people buy and how influence and persuasion works, we're having much more focus on influence and persuasion this season. Join me and Moeed Amit as we talk about the psychology of buying and much more besides. What gets those customers buying your products and services? Understand how trust and persuasion works in your business. Don't miss it. And if you're enjoying the show, make sure you share it with your friends as well. See you next time.